Warning, this video contains grown men on the internet crying like children over video games. Viewer discretion is advised.
What is up, boys? So I was originally going to do a separate video on Hellblade and Avowed, but then I realized it both just fits into one video. So why not do that? Because then I'll have more time on other videos. So whatever. This video is about both Hellblade and Avowed, so it's all... And it is funny to me that still PlayStation fanboys are so mad about these games like existing and not being on their platform. Like, I just don't get why these grown men get so happy that there's games exclusive to their platform, right? Well, I get that. I get that they're happy to have games. But that they then go on the internet and brag about it. And I get very, very upset when there are games that they can't play, even though they make fun of other people for not being able to play the games that are exclusive to PlayStation. It's mind-blowing, dude. But with that being said, I guess here's some PlayStation fanboys being angry that Hellblade 2 exists and it's not on their console.
Hellblade 2, Scene 1, walking. Scene 2, walking. Scene 3, one enemy looks like a quick time event. Scene 4, walking. I'm not even making this up, I'm literally watching. Scene 5, walking.
Yeah, so have you never played Hellblade 1, or are you just incredibly fucking stupid? I guess if you have played Hellblade 1, you're just acting ignorant on purpose right now. And if you haven't, then you just don't know what the game's about. Hellblade is an incredibly streamlined and linear game, right? It's also quite short, and you can't really show gameplay of it without spoiling puzzles or certain like fun twists and shit like that. The only thing they can really show is the character walking, which is also most of the game, right? It's walking, doing puzzles, and then sometimes there's combat, not that often, and the combat also isn't a quick time event. It didn't look like a quick time event. Like in Spider-Man, you have quick time events and they're very obvious, like time fucking slows down and the X button appears in the game, basically tells you press the X button, right? That's not at all what this looked like, but whatever makes you feel better about the fact that you can't play this game on your plastic box.
Hellblade 1, Hellblade 2.
Wow guys, I can't believe this. A sequel to a game being similar to its predecessor? Like, how is that in any way a bad thing? I don't get it. It's not the way with almost every single sequel ever for any game or movie, especially game. It literally takes what this original game did and then expands on it. The original game was all about like looking incredibly good, having good like audio design, puzzles, maybe some combat, but mostly about like storytelling and environmental storytelling and all that shit. This game expands on all of that. The storytelling is grander because there's more like characters than just Senua, right? It seems like they've also expanded on the combat, because the combat in the first game is incredibly simple and basic. And in Hellblade 2, the combat doesn't look like insanely good or whatever, but it seems to be a huge improvement from the first game. The game looks way better. It probably sounds way better. It literally takes everything the first game has and improves upon it in so many different ways. Because guess what? That's what a good sequel does.
Xbox has confirmed that Senua's Saga Hellblade 2 will be a digital-only release costing $49.99. The game will have a similar length to its predecessor. Well shit, this is bad news. Come on now. At least do a special edition disc version. This is a single-player game. This is Xbox. They probably already know that it's not gonna sell well and not worth the money to print discs. There is a reason they won't show unscripted gameplay.
Yeah, the reason they won't show unscripted gameplay is very, very simple to people with more than 2 brain cells. The game is 7 hours long and a very heavily scripted and streamlined game. You cannot show 20 minutes of this game without spoiling at least something, like the ending of a puzzle or a combat section or, I don't know, maybe story moment, and they don't want to spoil anything, so obviously they're not going to show unscripted gameplay. This isn't like a fucking 25-hour mainline quest in an open world game where you can't really spoil a lot by showing 20 minutes of gameplay. You can spoil fuck tons by showing 20 minutes of gameplay of Hellblade 2. I think the developers literally just want people to play this game going in blind. right? That's also the best way to play games like this without knowing a lot about them, because it will just ruin the experience. And also the developers have said why the game is digital only. It has nothing to do with the fact that they don't think it's gonna make enough money. Essentially, they say the game is very short and it just isn't worth it to make it a physical release. Same happened, by the way, for Alan Wake 2. That game is a similar game, very similar game to Hellblade, right? Also digital only. Even Baldur's Gate 3, right, which is one of the most successful and possibly the most critically acclaimed game last year, launched digital only. It only later on got physical versions released of it. So it's really not that big a deal, like, oh, they're just preparing for it to fail by not making physical copies. It's just not true, dude. Like, you know this. Like, you know you're lying. Stop coping. It's pathetic.
Hellblade 2 is an 8-hour walking simulator with more cutscenes than gameplay. The exact type of game Xbox fanbase hate.
Okay, so the game does not have more cutscenes than gameplay. I don't even think I would have to address that, but he's pulling that out of his ass. There's no evidence of that being true, and it's not based on the first game. Unless this game is like 3 hours long, with fucking 5 hours of cutscenes. But I know for a fact it's not. You know for a fact it's not. This is cope. This guy is lying. Because, you know, what else is there to do besides lie on Twitter about video games on a different plastic box than the one I own? But it is true that not just Xbox fanboys, but a lot of people, myself included, shit on PlayStation exclusives for essentially all being the same third-person action game with stealth elements and cinematic cutscenes. But Hellblade doesn't fall on that, because Hellblade doesn't have the stealth elements. It doesn't have the crafting, it doesn't have like the semi-open world or fully open world. It doesn't have the stupid fucking like detective vision or whatever it's called that I think was introduced in like Far Cry or Assassin's Creed, you know, Ubisoft games. It doesn't have any of that. This entire game is just one linear cinematic experience, and it's not just a game interrupted sometimes by cinematics. The entire thing is supposed to be cinematic. And everything I'm saying right now is based on me having played the first game. It's not something I'm just making up.
Avowed looks like one of those passion projects.
I know that this is like supposed to be an insult, but I really don't see how. It looks like a game made by people who are very passionate about it and who are, you know, putting their all into the game, trying to make this the best game that they can make it. But somehow I guess that's bad. Don't do that, guys. Don't put passion into games. All games need to be the same, like Uncharted and The Last of Us and every other Sony game. Genuinely don't understand how this is even an insult. It looks like a game with passion put into it. I like my games passionless and boring, please.
Why Avowed looking like Ark Survival? God damn it, Phil. Shaking my damn head. 12 teraflops for nothing.
It just doesn't, though. It just doesn't. Like, gameplay-wise, it definitely doesn't. Like, Avowed is a first-person Western RPG, and Ark Survival Evolved is a first/third-person like survival base building game. So gameplay-wise, they're nothing alike, and visually they're not similar either. Like, you can put them side by side, and you'll see that they don't look alike. If you think they look alike, you might need to see a doctor or something, because there's something wrong with your brain. They don't look the same. It's the most shitty insult. It's just like, oh, this game looks kind of bad. Let me compare that to the game I want people to think looks bad because it's not on my plastic box. And I'm salty about the fact that it's not on my plastic box. Even though, like 2 weeks before this Direct came out, I was like very hyped for Avowed and acting all happy because I thought it was coming to PlayStation. Right, J-Dub? That's what you did. And then when it was revealed that it wasn't coming to PlayStation, you suddenly started shitting on it for no reason. Makes perfect sense.
Avowed CGI reveal trailer versus Xbox Direct gameplay.
Guys, can you believe that not every game looks hyper-realistic and some games have an art style instead of going for hyper-realism? Can you believe that some games might not look like their CGI introductions, which is basically every game ever that has had a CGI reveal? It's the dumbest shit ever, dude. The same goes for PlayStation games. Most games that are introduced through a CGI like reveal don't end up looking as good as the CGI reveal. Hell, most games that are revealed, just in general, when they come out, don't look as good as they did in the trailer, because the trailer is meant to make the game look as good as possible. This is just the dumbest criticism, because it applies to literally every game ever. Anyway, I think I might end the video here because I got other shit to do today. So I hope you very much so enjoyed this video. And if you did, please like and subscribe to the channel. Helps me out a lot. And yeah, I'll see you all in the next video. Goodbye.